Hello and welcome to the Three Will Podcast. This is your host, Danny Ryan. I have Tommy Ryan here with me. How's it going, Tommy?
It's going well.
Yeah?
Back from the Windy City.
All right. How's Chicago?
It was nice.
Yeah.
Nice weather. Got to spend some time with some key customers. So
Nice.
good time.
Some one-on-one time.
Yeah, I actually had Chicago pizza with Bobby last night.
Nice.
Or
This is
two nights ago.
For folks who don't know, there's another Ryan brother, and that's Bobby Ryan. What was he? Was he up there selling? I imagine. Yes.
I guess so.
Yeah.
He tends to do that.
Nice. So I see you've got your striped socks on. Well done.
Yes. It's
Check out mine.
very native of you.
Yes. Living close to Sawney Mountain, I figured I'd wear my Native American socks here to work. So today what I would like to do is talk a little bit about Microsoft Teams and just maybe talk for 10 minutes or so about that. Can you just sort of give me a high level, what the heck is it for someone who might be new to it?
Well, Microsoft Teams, originally they were calling it Skype for Teams, and it's come out branded as Microsoft Teams. And I look at it as a visual overlay to the services that are provisioned in an Office 365 group. So for those that might not be familiar with Office 365 groups, it is a way to get a piece of each of the Office 365 services bundled in the context of a group of people that you invite. So you have this group, and let's say it's a project team, and you want to make sure you have a place to put files, you have a place for conversations, a place for your notes, and you want to navigate between those elements of Office 365 without losing that context of which group am I in. And Office 365's groups did that, but in a very disjointed way. And with Microsoft Teams, we see this visual overlay that keeps the context of being in that team, but surfacing different elements and trying to integrate that. So you're in a Microsoft team and you're working on a file, you still have the Chrome of the Microsoft Teams UI, and you surface within that a Word document that you're editing. And then there's a panel on the right that can be a conversation around that document. And so you have that full experience of, I'm working on something with the team, and I can, bring in the team and the history of that content to make decisions and, finalize content. And that's something I've been looking for a while. You start hearing about, well, there's going to be Yammer integration with Office 365, and you look at that, and it's very disjointed. It's very simplistic, and it doesn't bring it into one place. You're kind of hopping over to the Yammer UI, and then inside of a Word, and then going back to a document library. And I think Teams is trying to give you a Slack-like experience for those who are familiar with a Slack, and where it's highly engaging from a user experience, but at the end of the day, your content is in a secure enterprise-grade repository. So it's trying to bring those two worlds together of social and good UI with the reliability and the security and all those things that you expect in storing enterprise content.
And so when I create a team, does that create a group at that point in time?
Yeah, if you look at what gets created, when you create a team, it's a private group, and the person that creates the team is the owner.
Okay.
And then you have members of that team that, as I've been looking, the owner can see a little bit more, and it's more of trying to structure and control how things are set up. and then members are in there as kind of read-write contributors to all the content that shows up in the team.
So it sounds like it's trying to address the the context switching problem that you have with working with Office 365.
Yeah,
it's how many tabs, how many apps do I have to have working, and then jumping to the right place in them sometimes makes your head explode.
Right.
But just being able to have a right security context, making sure that you're sharing the information to the right people.
Right.
And then sort of tying together a lot of the applications that you would typically use into one place.
Right.
And I noticed it's got a sort of a thick client, web-based client, mobile client. So all of those, it's the new Microsoft way of creating an app, right?
Sure. Yeah. Being, cloud friendly, device friendly. Mm-hmm. And they really came out of the gate with multiple apps. Not every app. I know Safari is going to have the ability to work with Teams, but Chrome has it, and there's a Mac desktop app, a Windows desktop app, and there's a mobile app that's on iOS. I'm not sure about Android, but I assume that will come soon if it's not there already.
What's a channel? Because I've run into this. I understand. So we create a team, which is somewhat of a security context, and then you have channels. Describe what those are.
Well, channels, if you map it to the Yammer world,
mm-hmm.
you have topics. And so it's a way to say this information pertains to this topic, or in the world of Slack, in the world of Microsoft Teams, it's called channel. And that channel allows you to filter down to, specific types of conversations and content that you care about. So let's say you have a team, and as a part of that overall team, you have a QA group that's working on the project. They might have a channel that it's all QA type conversations and content. So if I'm a developer, maybe I'm curious about that, or go peek in there and look at it, but maybe all my time is in the developer channel versus mm-hmm. the QA channel.
Gotcha. And then I know I was sort of, you have a sort of a kick the tires team that you invited us to, and you and I think half the reason why we started a company was so we can play with new software.
Amen to that.
It's like we're like a kid in a candy store, and it's been nice with all the stuff coming out. I know for me, I started my first response is to go ahead and start a marketing team and start playing around with that. It looks like, when I look at it, there's the group that's created and a site that's created for us on the back end. Then I'm thinking I'm going to need to then migrate my OneNote notebooks over into that.
So what's interesting is if you look across the top,
uh-huh.
You see conversations, you see file, and then you see notes, and then you see a plus sign.
Okay.
If you click on that plus sign, you can actually connect to another document repository.
Okay.
And so you can go point to where those marketing artifacts are.
Nice.
So I was thinking the same vein of sales. Well, we've got a lot of this structure already available for sales.
Yeah.
Do I need to move this content? And I think if there's content already, they're giving you a way to tie that back in.
That's it. And I like that tab idea, because I'm gonna, I put my marketing KPIs or dashboard in an Excel spreadsheet, and just sort of call attention to it in that marketing group, sort of having it very easy to access.
Yeah, and on that same vein, there is a Power BI capability on that tab, and so you can go point to a workspace and
nice.
Power BI, which you've always wanted to do that in SharePoint. There hasn't been a good integration. You had to go over to Power BI to go look at the dashboards, and now you can pull that dashboard into the right place, for the team that cares about it.
Couple more things. The whole connectors thing. What is that about?
It's like Slack has that, IFTTT has that. It's a way to bring in things outside of Office 365.
Okay.
So, it's a third-party integration.
And I think like the marketing, I started hooking it up to, like I use Pingdom that it lets me know if our website's ever down, and thought that would be a cool sort of thing to tie into, and then like our Twitter feed, and started playing around with a couple of different things there.
Right. So, if Teams is a place that you can consume all that content. It's kind of like a mini portal for that team. And not all your information is going to be in Office 365, and Microsoft recognizes that. And so they want to connect to all the different cloud services and be able to bring that into the right place.
How far off are we from, and I know we've just started using this and are going to investigate using this. I'm from the South. We're going to look at using this for projects, I assume, because we've been using Slack recently, and we'll talk more about Slack next week, but I think we'll probably look at using this for projects.
I mean, that's what I anticipate.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm not trying to give people whiplash and go
We're
right into
it. We're a little busy around here, if you haven't noticed.
Yeah, I think we need to kick the tires for a while and get a sense of where it's settling in, and there's some buggy things in it. It's probably less buggy than the typical launch of a new concept, but I think we need to give it a little bit of time and understand where the edges are before we commit to anything.
And is there a long-term hope that this is our extranet, that we start including people from outside of ThreeWheel on this?
Well, Office 365 Groups has external access, so I think the underpinnings are there for that. Potentially. I don't think we've thought that far. I think it's more of let's use it for projects, which is our extranet at the end of the day. And how does that make it better for our customers? We've always been thinking about how can we simplify it for them. At one point, we were thinking about creating a Yammer group and having them use Yammer just so they don't have to, navigate around all the structure that's in SharePoint, that they have just a place that they can converse with us. Teams might be that way to bring kind of that chattiness with the customer to have conversations, but also visibility to any content they need. So I think that's a natural progression, and I don't know, that's probably months away before we do that.
What does this mean to, and I know this is pure conjecture, which you love to do, right?
Closure.
What if, Tommy? It seems to me, that first off, there's a little bit of, when I first started using it, I was like, I don't want another inbox. I don't want another place I have to go check. But it looks like it's trying to, it could be another one of the core apps that I have running. Right now, I would consider that to be Outlook and OneNote are always up. And then Skype Business is typically there. But this seems like another one that's typically running if I've got the thick client. I don't even know what I'm about to ask you. What does this mean to like Yammer and
who am
Skype,
I? Where am I?
Where is this? Come over here so I can kick you. Oh.
Well, I think where you're trying to go with this is this just giving me another thing I need to have open, or is there any promise of simplification? And I think the promise or the hope is that Yammer folds into this, Skype folds into this, Office 365 Groups comes into this, and it really is that one place to consume content when I'm dealing with things outside of just my personal inbox. So I'm consuming OneNote from there. So why have OneNote open if I go into my marketing group and I can go to OneNote from there?
Yeah.
And it gives us that social layer to kind of tie in conversations with content. And I don't think Microsoft has nailed that yet. So the graph is a great underpinning for that, a great piece of infrastructure. But consuming that graph in a way that a UI can tie content and conversations, that's where Microsoft's playing catch up, and hopefully this will be a key part of that.
Anything else before we put a button on this?
I think that's good.
Yeah, pretty
It's a
good.
good start. That's a good primer, I think.
So I'm gonna have to pull in one sound quote from a movie. So, and I'll have a question with it.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Really?
So my question is this kind of a big deal or a big deal, or what do you think? Where does this weigh within?
I think this is kind of a big deal.
I don't know how to tell you this, Tommy, but I'm kind of a big deal. And I love her response to it. Really?
We will see. Time will tell.
Time will tell. Yes. And yep. Sometimes you got to try new things and see if they work. But I'm all for the. I think the groups. I'm not sure if I have taken off and run with it yet, but to have something that actually supports that whole concept, that's good to see.
Yeah, groups was kind of a dry attempt of tying together multiple services, and structurally, it's solid, but I think from a user experience, it was lacking something, and so I think Teams is a big step forward with it.
Great. Thanks for taking the time to do this, Tommy.
Sure, Danny.
And we'll chat next week. I know in the Morning Brew you're going to cover this again, Microsoft Teams again next week, and maybe if we could focus in on comparing Teams to Slack.
Sure.
Great.
Can do.
Join us next week for that. Everybody have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.